Here and from the people at home that can make this thing called devolution to work better than it's working right now. I want to give a chance to hear those views as quickly as we can, and I have a couple more questions that might be quite relevant to where we're going. Before we went on break, there were two gentlemen who had not had a chance to speak. Let's hear from them as quickly as we can as we proceed. Sir, what is your good name and what is your message? What can we do to improve devolution, my friend?
Yeah, so my name is Okech Victor.
Okay, karibu Okech.
Yeah, I'm privileged to be an MC.
Excellent, karibu.
Yeah, so...
Are you vying?
No, unfortunately.
All right. But you're vying for MC jobs. All right, tell us, what's your point?
I'm vying for statistical jobs.
All right, all right.
Yeah, so my profession, I'm a statistician by profession and also a full-stack developer.
Okay.
Together with other staffs.
Yes.
Yeah, some to mention a few. Yeah, now back to the conversation that we are having here. I'll start by, as a statistician, of course, I've gotten views from each one of us, and I can come up with a conclusion. And basically, from what has been highlighted here, is that devolution in general may not be working as of now. Yeah, so if I maybe handle something small through the trends, when we talked about the conference, for example, that's happening currently in Homa Bay, what has been there is that the positive impact from the conferences has been very minimal, yeah, with a huge negative impact.
So, and Victor, what can we do? Okay. What can we do to make that impact better, or is it a lost cause according to you? What are your statistics saying?
Okay, just before I come to...
No, please, let's go there. Let's go there, please. Let's go there. We may not have a lot of time.
Yeah. So first, we need to focus on our key. For example, when we have this, maybe the theme. When we have a theme, as a researcher also, you need to focus on the objectives. Now, when you have the objectives, the materials you gather defines what you're aiming for. For example, if you look at the conferences, like currently, there is a different theme, objectives, but look at the materials being gathered, like 50,000 something. Yeah, so that simply means that they are planning to fail.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And also, when you look at the devolution now currently, it's more of delivering promises than delivering projects. So there's a difference between promises and projects.
All right.
So they have to consider that.
All right, let's digest Victor's statistics. Sir, what's your good name and what's your point, please?
Yes, my name is Achola.
Yes, Achola.
I'm an advocate.
Karibu.
And a lawyer. Thank you very much. So on this devolution topic, the first thing I'd say is all hope is not lost. I think in as far as devolution is concerned, things are usually moving in our country, but I think the government just does a bad job in as far as showcasing its achievements is concerned. But does that mean that there are no loopholes or gaps to fill? Unfortunately, there are so many issues and there are so many loopholes and concerns that we still have glaring, such as in the medical issues, in the medical sector, even sports, music industry. There's so much that we can do. Devolution is not just purely a governance concern that we need to address.
What can we do? What suggestions can you put forward?
So for a start, I'd say the buck stops with us as a people, as a citizen. You asked about the youths. So we need to make sure that when it comes to leadership, we take leadership very seriously. It should not just be about the guy who shows up with bags of money come 2027 or any other election time, because we have by-elections as well around the corner. Yes. It should be about good leaders, people of integrity. I think one lawyer, Miguna once said that in Kenya, we don't lack good laws. What we lack is integrity. So we have an integrity issue.
What Mulamba was talking about, a culture of, poor culture of implementation.
Yeah. Yes, right, and then there's also the issue of the national government not disbursing funds sufficiently to the counties and in time. Again, this also touches to corruption and integrity. So we also need to fine-tune our systems. And then last, I'll also say that you see, when we have devolution, it's a good thing, but you also realize that if the government fails to make the environment conducive for the private sector, then everyone wants to lump into, government jobs and whatnot. So you find that most counties are usually bloated in terms of even the workforce, and you find that the Public Finance Management Act, touching on county government regulations, stipulates that at least 35% of the county government budgets is supposed to be strictly on the payment of the workers. But you find that most counties are bloated. So there are those small margins and issues that we need to address, and I believe that once we touch on those, we will be okay, but all hope is not lost.
All right, thank you, Achola. Let's hear from these guys who've been quiet for a bit before we jump to this other side. Yeah. Let's start with you, Brian.
Yes, so I think I want to debunk this myth that says, I think, that the youth are currently not actively involved in politics. I think that changed last year, and on June 25th, you clearly saw that it was majority of the youth that were out there actually, trying to advocate for their rights. And I mean, previously you were not engaged in politics. Most of us did not care. I remember even when I was in law school, and that time I was interning at an organization. And when you talk about demonstration and all these things, I remember my classmates wondering, what are you doing? But after law school, and I think last year, they have become more radical than I am. And I've been in the civil society longer than they are. So the youths are actually changing, and things are changing. But at the same time, we also need to take responsibility for certain things, right? So it can't be that your house help and your watchman is more qualified than your MP. In fact, you're more qualified than that MP, and yet you vote them in. And what is the result of that? You have corruption. You don't have jobs, right? And when you're called for so-called empowerment programs, you have a degree, for instance, like my colleague who is a lawyer there and an advocate, they call you there to give you what? To give you motorbikes, to give you Porsche mills. What are you going to do with these things? You see, when other countries are talking about nuclear technology, development of AI, technology, what are we talking about? Motorbikes, wheelbarrows. I think that's the level we are at. And you're not even we're not even shameless. We're not feeling any shame about this. So when we talk about devolution, right? As a youth, we need to be selfish. How is this thing benefiting us? How is it benefiting you directly? Don't go out there and vote for somebody because sijui akona dimples, ama anaitwa baba supu, ama mama supu. If yourself you're more competent than the leader, it doesn't make sense. How can your own house help be more competent than your MP? And this guy controls millions.
All right. Very pertinent questions. You have something to say?
Yeah. I think for me, I respond to your question by coming back to this document, the Constitution. There are certain provisions that are very clear in terms of what we need to do to achieve devolution. I will talk of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity. Mm-hmm. The question then we need to ask ourselves, do people understand what the provisions contain as they were written in terms of what we need in leaders? And I come back to what the gentleman said around civic education. I think for now we need to go beyond civic education and make it political. Because politics touches every aspect of our lives. When it comes to food, what we dress, what we eat, the water we drink, everything. Because the moment you disassociate from politics, then you consider yourself you find yourself in a place where the people who make laws that protect themselves. When it comes to resources, they will make sure that they are the first people on the table. Even when you look at the bottom-up, let me call it bottom-up scheme, it just brought a few people from somewhere and decided now to ring-fence what they have in terms of resources. And now these people are now regrouping. And whether you call it through broad-based government, because they know if they remove the fence, the way the young people came out last year, they are not going to find a way in terms of how do they protect their resources. And some of these resources, they have not acquired them legally. So that's the first thing we need to do. We need to come back to, again, on public finance management and Article 201 of the Constitution. I think the learned friends will say more about this. There is the aspect of transparency and accountability. How do we make sure that we safeguard the resources that we collect? How do we make sure that we use resources according to the Constitution in a way that it promotes inclusivity and equality in terms of economic growth. When you have resources and instead of using resources to benefit the normal mwananchi, and you just, through corruption, it becomes even very difficult for young people to engage in politics. Finally, is the young people to understand that the trend that they had already started must not stop at all costs. Because the moment they will do, right now, you see the political class are selling fear. And fear is one of the means that dictators maintain power. If they sell fear to you, they will shoot your, how do we call it now? Shoot your legs. When you sell that fear to young people, the idea is that they keep away. But it is the spirit of the Kenyan young people that we should not keep away. We should continue the spirit that we started last year and make sure that the governance that we put on the table at that time, the good governance, the good leadership, accountability, inclusivity, all those principles must not be let to rest only at the hands of politicians.
Just a quick question before we shift to Mulamba's point. Yes. I'm sure he's about to mention. What tools can you put forward for young people to use? We have at least 22 by-elections coming up in the next month or so. 22 by-elections. Any of you coming from places where by-elections are happening? Any of you here? There's a by-election where you're from? All right. So these guys here, and the people they represent, and the people who are watching at home, can you give 3 things, sieves, if you may, filters, that they can use to be able to make sure that that point that you're making, vote in proper leaders based on Chapter 6, happens? What 3 things would you suggest to the people out there who are contemplating those choices?
The first one will be to embrace public participation through town halls like this one, because this is where you get to understand what is happening, share knowledge, and get to understand in terms of what do leaders have in terms of manifesto. So the first thing will be through public participation and public forums. The second one, again, would be through, I don't know, let me say town halls. Because you have to put your foot forward to engage and understand that politics is every day, is a means of life. If you cannot participate in political activities, then you are setting yourself to fail. Whether you are in a very good employment area or whether you are unemployed, what we need to understand is that when the rubber meets the bullet, it becomes very bad for all of us.
All right.
So that's the second thing that I will say. The third one is to understand that the power belongs to us. It is not the people. Those people are our employees. So when you understand that the power belongs to us, it becomes necessary for you to get involved. Whether things are going on right or bad, you get involved, and each and every day you check.
Okay.
You become now because now the oversight role that the parliament has not played adequately.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Mulamba?
I will divide my submission in 3 parts. One, I will give a brief history of devolution. Secondly, I will talk about the hits and misses of the conferences we've had so far. Then I will talk about the solutions to devolution.
Mulamba, you're so powerful and professorial. I don't know if we have enough time to hear you. Would you care to compress to what you feel will be the most accurate bullet that you can deliver? Go.
Okay. Probably I should talk about the hits and misses of the conferences we've had and the solutions to devolution. But I would have wanted to tell the story of devolution.
I know. I'm sure the people will get that from you. What are the hits and misses?
So far, I have taken my time to go through the conferences we've had since 2013 to today, and I have realized we've been discussing the wrong issues in these devolution conferences. We've not had a devolution conference to discuss mismanagement of funds in county governments. We've not had a devolution conference to discuss the corruption and malfeasance in county governments. We've not had a conference to discuss the bloated wage bill in county governments. We've not had a conference to discuss the ghost workers menace in county governments and the doctored books of accounts. And these are things we should have taken to heart before we start discussing climate action in a devolution conference. And if you ask me, we are not here to spite devolution. We actually love devolution. Personally, I love devolution. I am just not happy with how it is being executed in this country. One, because the devolution we have has been executed by less than 20%. The idea of devolution was to devolve almost every other function to county governments. That has not happened. And every other time, the National Assembly and the Senate are always bickering about the allocation of funds to county governments. They never seem to agree. But to be correct, we should by now have devolved close to 50% of the national revenue to county governments. Because, I mean, what was the idea? Bridge marginalization, ensure that marginalized areas get the funds to bridge that economic disparity, bridge financial exclusion, and so on and so on. That has not happened. And to me, that is something we need to work on. And to the solutions to the current devolution meltdown that we have, I think, one, we should increase funding to county governments by up to 50%. I mean, what business does the national government has to retain 50% or 70% of the national revenue, and we do not even see where that revenue goes to? Secondly, we also need to improve the devolution we have, because we cannot have a Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture in county governments that merely focuses on football tournaments. That exactly wasn't the reason why devolution existed in the first place. And thirdly, we also need to devolve more functions to county governments, because some of the functions are still retained by the national government. An important ministry like the Ministry of Water and Irrigation that would make meaningful change at the grassroots level still remains domiciled under the Ministry of Irrigation and Water in the national government. That should not be happening, because we cannot have county governments under-resourced in a way that they cannot effect irrigation schemes in their own counties. And as I finalize, I think we also need to review the law on on-source revenue and how it is used. For example, here in Nairobi, this county gets 20 billion shillings as allocation from the national government. This county also raises close to 20 billion shillings as on-source revenue. But I cannot tell you confidently how this on-source revenue has been utilized by the government in place. And that applies to almost every other county, because there is less scrutiny to how money is used, the on-source revenue is used by county governments. There's almost all and entire focus on how the money allocated to counties by the national government is used, but never on the on-source revenue. So to me, if you ask me, I would say that we should first shift the balance from the paying of salaries and using the revenue allocated to counties by the national government to on-source revenue.
Okay.
These county governments should start paying salaries using on-source revenue. And if they do that, we would have solved the issue of bloated wages and ghost workers, because that is where county governments steal most of our money.
All right.
And if they pay this revenue, if they pay these salaries from their own source revenue, you're going to see counties raise more money, because they will be trying to pay salaries using the monies they raise, not the monies they've gotten from the national government.
All right, all right. We asked for recommendations, we sure have got them. Now, guys, the people who have been watching at home, I can see your feedback here. I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. I can see, Bwana Producer, would you care to put up the new numbers for the poll? So that the final numbers, actually, we've closed the poll by now. Would you care to put the numbers on the screen right now? Yes, the numbers are, let the Kenyans see what they were able to say. But unfortunately, or very interestingly, on X, the numbers are still 50-50. This is quite curious. The people who have voted are still saying 50-50. Half of them are saying yes, that the counties will deliver on devolution. They still are confident. And 50% say no. It's still a bit of a split conversation there. Producer, please run the numbers on the screen for people to see. But as we conclude this conversation, those of you who watch this show know that this is something we always say, that sometimes the program, the time we have is shorter than the conversation, or the conversation is bigger than the time that we have. Producer, what we have? 22% yes, and 77% no, and still 1% saying maybe. Still on the fence as to whether the devolution is going to be, counties are going to deliver on devolution. One of our people here was able to give, the statistician said that generally the view is that, devolution is not working. And we have heard from a number of people in the room about reasons why it's not working. And we've had a number of recommendations on what should work. For example, a better and stronger watchdog, EHCC, for example, from Jeff from Kitui, as well as some of you who've shared some really good views. But I'm informed, and this is rather unfortunate, I'm informed by our director that we're entirely out of time, the time that was allocated for this program. But I would like to say a big thank you to our viewers at home. Thank you so much for choosing us. And I'd like to thank our panelists and our audiences and our insight bearers, I should say. Thank you for coming. I'll say this as a parting shot to the people of Kenya. We have at least 22 by-elections coming up. Let the things that have been said in this room, let them not remain as mere talk. I know a lot of you are vying in different positions. Let all the things that you've said about accountability, about governance, about integrity, let all those things, the foundations that you stand for, let all those things count this time round. At least 3 people in this room. Aura, you have by-elections where you're coming from. I hope you and the people that listen to you will hold up the values that you have put forward in this program. I hope so. As Kenyans, I am merely a watchdog, if you may. I am a spectator, I am a broadcaster. We will broadcast. We'll see some of you on posters. Some of you will be elected. We will be here to judge you. And I tell you, the judgment from the people is harsh. Ladies and gentlemen, 1,000 apologies for anyone who didn't get enough opportunity to speak, but I want to say good night and thank you so much for being part of this program. God bless you.